So the Edmonton Elks are a fascinating conversation because when you look at the record, they are one of the worst teams in the CFL. But when you look at the tape right now, you can make the argument they are one of the best teams in the CFL because of what Kevin Brown and Trey Ford have done for that offense. So,
Cheers, Jackson.
yeah, that's true. True say. Good point by you. So why don't we start at the top where there will be some consensus and work our way down and do this exercise and do it at home with us. You might want to throw shots at what we say, but try to do this exercise yourself. Tweet at us, hit us up in the comments, let us know what your power rankings are because we do this at the CFL every week, and every week there are essentially 8 fan bases that are upset. So let's start at the top. Obviously, the Toronto Argonauts.
All right, so let's start at 2 then.
Okay, let's start at 2.
Unanimous.
Let's start at 2. I have the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in my number 2 spot. Who you got?
And I actually put the BC Lions.
Wow. Okay. Because?
I put the BC Lions because I like what I'm seeing from them. I like the adversity that they continue to rise above. And I don't know, man. When I look at the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, I feel like too many hiccups for me to place in my number 2. That's the simplest way that I could put it. Especially when you look at the offense that they have. Of course, they have the weapons. It's been well documented. And I don't know about Zach and where he's going with the ball. Sometimes they just seem to be missing a beat, missing a step, and not on the same page far too often for me. And I was very much debating, are they 2? Are they 3? And I ended up with BC number 2.
The last time they played BC, they won by 36 points.
That's right.
Winnipeg, I believe, gets bored. And they play with their food, and then eventually you annoy them, and they set things straight. BC beat them in the first matchup, beat them badly. By 24, and then Winnipeg came back and rectified things. You look throughout the year, who did they lose to? They lost to Ottawa by 3.
Yeah.
They lost to Saskatchewan by 2. You know what happened? They came back, they beat them 51-6.
That's fine. They still lost.
But then they beat them 51-6.
But then they beat them. That's right.
They recently lost to the Hamilton Tiger Cats by 6. Hamilton was playing much better. They don't play Hamilton again, so they don't have the ability to take it out on Hamilton. Maybe they'll take it out on your Toronto Argonauts when you face them on September 29th. But Winnipeg, when motivated, is still the best, second best team in the league.
I want to see the rubber match. I want to see the rubber
between
match
who?
between the BC Lions and the Blue Bombers.
Yeah, you'll see it. You'll see it at the end of November.
We definitely
win
will.
the Western
And
Conference.
right
Final.
now, I feel like BC's going to take it.
Well, I have Winnipeg at 2. You have BC at 2. It is safe to assume you have
Winnipeg at 3.
and I have BC at 3. So there are tiers, and we are in lockstep on the tiers. The Argos in their own tier. BC and Winnipeg are in their own tier.
That's right.
And then there's the Gulf. Number 4. You want to go first? What you got?
Number 4, I actually went with the very team that you're talking about, playing probably the best football in the CFL right now with the streak and not only stopping the losing streak, but also the winning streak that they kind of went on. And just the growth that they've experienced to me is very impressive. And I love it. I'm putting Edmonton at 4.
I, too, am putting Edmonton at 4.
Okay.
Again, take the record out of it and just watch the tape. They've been really good in all phases, much better offensively, as you point out, since Jackson has been at the helm. And nobody runs the ball better than them. As the weather gets worse and worse, that is going to be more and more important. They recently beat Saskatchewan. They recently beat Calgary. I got them at 4.
And you know what else too, DB? It seems like no one really has an answer for Trey Ford.
Nope.
I mean, you can come up with a game plan, but then you get punched in the mouth and you go, what are we doing? Right? And so that's when you talk about the next tier, Edmonton has to be on top.
Who you got at 5?
5. Going with the other hot team, Hamilton Tiger Cats.
I, too, have the Hamilton Ticats out
Talk to
front.
me.
Listen, everyone that was on our production meeting was like, "Oh, it's so tough. You'll see. You got to do this exercise. You'll really see." Evidently, for me and Enoch, it's not that tough. It's light work.
I didn't show you my list.
I didn't show you mine
me
either.
Yours.
Again, Hamilton beat Winnipeg recently. They were closer when they played your Toronto Argonauts. They beat the brakes off of BC recently. So when you look at who's playing the best football in the month of September, Hamilton is in that conversation.
Absolutely. They got to be put up there, right behind the Edmonton Elks, and they're causing some damage, and also happen to start right around the time new offensive coordinator came into the picture, but they are also looking like they're trending in the right direction.
Who you got coming in at number 6?
Number 6. I feel like it's the beginning of another tier. Would you say?
Yes.
Yeah. Saskatchewan Roughriders.
At number 6, I have the Saskatchewan Roughriders. It is not that difficult. Listen, and it is less to do about them and more to do about the fact that the teams below them are just that much worse. Saskatchewan, they've been up and down this year. They don't really strike me as being overly great at anything or overly poor at anything. Passing yards per game, 4th. Offensive yards per game, 7th. Defensive yards per game, 5th. They're just in the middle of the pack on everything, which is why they have a 6-7 record, and they're 3rd in the West. They are just average. All right. This is becoming a relatively futile exercise, but let's continue it.
I feel like we'll agree as well.
Number 7.
3rd to last has to be Calgary.
No.
Whoa! No. Talk to me.
I got Montreal at 7. Ooh. I got Calgary.
I did debate. I went back and forth with those two.
Well, again, I think we're talking about tiers, and they're in the same tier. And I have Ottawa, unfortunately, as much as I love Bobby Dice.
Man.
Ottawa.
Dusty, everybody was playing cheering from Dusty football.
So talk to me while you have Calgary above Montreal, because I think it's still we are seduced by those uniforms and that logo, and that there's a Dickinson on the sidelines, but they have not been very good.
Very much so. And again, we're talking about this tier, and I feel like those two teams are definitely in that tier of football, or caliber of football this season, at this point in the season at least. And to me, right, we're talking about it's not necessarily about they're so much better than the other, or this team is much better than the other. Calgary's much better than the Alouettes. But to me, it's just I'm looking at deeper than just football now, and I'm looking at the history, and I'm looking at who's at the helm. I'm looking at who's coaching. I definitely do believe in Dave Dickinson, Huff Nagel, and that coaching staff over there. And I do believe that they got the talent to make some noise as well down the stretch. Still haven't figured it out yet. But when I look at the Montreal Alouettes, again, I mentioned that I alluded to her a little bit earlier. I just don't know what's going on in the locker room, and I don't know. As far as the coaching staff, I don't know as far as the culture. I don't know as far as leadership on that team, if there's going to be someone that's going to emerge and take them to the promised land.
Here's why I disagree. Montreal, yes, they lost 4 straight, but they lost 4 straight to teams that they should lose to. They lost twice to your Toronto Argonauts. They lost to BC. They lost to Winnipeg. Those are the teams in the top tier of the league. Before that, they won 4 straight. They handled business against the teams that we would expect them to, that are below them. That's why I have Montreal. Calgary's up and down against everybody. They somehow beat your Argonauts, and really they got that game because, let's be honest, Chad Kelly was hurt. Calgary has 1 win in their last 5 games. So for me, they are the second worst team. And obviously, sadly, Ottawa's at the bottom. But let us know if you agree, disagree, where we may have gone astray. But I think the moral of the story is, listen, CFL.ca staff, it's not that hard, okay?